And tonight we're going to cover forgiveness. It was a much voted for topic in the group. And forgiveness, we're going to have a weird approach to forgiveness tonight. But it's an important thing. And working with people in the subconscious realm, it seems like forgiveness is always unnecessary because there are certain things that happens in a subconscious session, and we're going to discuss those things, and I'm going to take you through them, and we can just play with the thoughts surrounding forgiveness. Because on this planet, everybody, and I mean literally everybody on this planet, has done something to someone else and is probably in need of some forgiveness in any way, shape, or form. Okay, and so it's important to understand that forgiveness is not a unique thing to us as a species, right? Everybody on this planet needs forgiveness. Everybody's probably hurt somebody or hurt someone in the past, did something that they shouldn't have done. So if you are thinking of forgiveness, all right, what do you think needs to be forgiven? If you can write in a word or a sentence in the chat box, what do you think needs forgiveness? Is it actions? Is it people? Is it betrayal? What would you say needs forgiveness if you have to think about it? Just in the chat box, one or two words. What do you think needs forgiveness? Okay, I'm just allowing some other people in here quickly. All right. So if you have to say that something needs forgiveness, what would that be? Would that be people, the actions? Would it people who betrayed you, people who stole from you, people who abused you? What would you need to give forgiveness for? Hurting somebody? Okay. Betrayal, disrespect. Okay, Ursula. So hurting somebody, betrayal. Okay. Right. Betrayal, somebody who hurt you, Sandra. Okay. So all these things seems like they need forgiveness, right? And mostly it's a feeling of betrayal, right? The hurt, the abuse, all those things. Only someone that you love and respect and care for can betray and hurt and actually injure you on a mental level, right? And an emotional level. Because if you don't know this person, they won't get stuck in your head, right? They must do something to you. They must hurt you in some or other way, shape, or form. They must betray you in some or other way, shape, or form. And then you get hurt. Okay. Yaku says the loss of a loved one. Okay. Losses of loved ones. That's an interesting one. Okay. All of us sitting on this call, you are going to lose a loved one. Loved ones are going to lose you. All right. So there are certain things that the mind clings to surrounding forgiveness that we take for granted and we think it's ordinary. Okay. It's natural to think this way and to feel this way surrounding the art of forgiveness. But tonight we're going to have a little bit of a different approach. Okay, there's a lot of sayings and a lot of theories around forgiveness. The best one I've ever heard and the nicest one I've ever read and come across was attributed to Mark Twain. Right, and he said, forgiveness is the fragrance that the violet sheds on the heel that has crushed it. Okay, that's an amazing saying. If forgiveness is the fragrance that the violet sheds on the heel that has crushed it, why is forgiveness related to fragrance? That's what we're going to cover tonight. If you have to imagine on this planet, right, the amount of people that we have, the amount of stories that's playing out while we're sitting on this call, what's happening on this planet at this present moment. Okay, some people are betraying other people, some people are killing other people, some people are. There are so many things happening on this planet at this present moment, right? That if you expand the mind to those things, you'll realize that those are stories playing out on this planet. One of my teachers actually said that Shakespeare was right. He says all the world's a stage and everybody on it are actors. That's basically what he alluded to. Okay, so we are all actors playing in a play on the stage we call Earth, and we play our different roles. Now, if we do that, okay, then it becomes an interesting story because what are the stories we are playing out on this planet? Everybody here on this call, what is your part that you need to play on this planet? What is your story that you are playing out? Are you the villain? Are you the hero? Are you the abuser, the accuser, the savior? Okay. We've got different stories that we're playing out, and those different stories will change as we go through life. Sometimes we'll be the abuser, sometimes we'll be the abused. Sometimes you lie, sometimes you'll be lied to. Okay. It is very rare that a person on this planet has not betrayed somebody else or hurt somebody else through their actions, either knowing or not knowing. Okay, it does happen. So a good way to start to approach this forgiveness thing is to the people that betrayed you, the people that hurt you, the people you want to forgive for things. Okay, where have you crossed the line yourself? What have you done? Right. And if you search deep enough, wide enough, you'll find that some things that you did in the past may have caused others harm. Okay. May have hurt them, may have done something to them that they would like you to forgive them for, or vice versa. So it's important to understand that you are not free from actions and their consequences. Okay. Most of the time, we don't even know what we did to other people. Okay. Sometimes it's pretty obvious. If these people are in our circles and we know them and we engage with them on a daily basis, we can see how we hurt them. But sometimes we don't even know. Okay. So it starts with that. So forgiveness is a thing that the ego loves because in this planet, our ego needs stimulation, it needs validation, it needs to let the whole world know that we were wronged, okay, in some way or shape or form. Okay, but that is not really a nice way to live. Okay. Now, with the part of the fragrance part, if we make forgiveness a fragrance, it comes out of the lessons we learn from people who betray us. If you were the only person on this planet, no other people involved, it was just you and this massive planet. Can you imagine what a lonely, boring place it must be? For some of you, it might be nice because you want to isolate and you want to get away from people, but eventually you'll get bored, right? Because there's no one to talk to, there's no one to be a soundboard, there's no one to actually put you in situations to understand who you are. This is what is happening on the stage on Earth, as if Earth is a stage. Everybody that hurts you is giving you feedback on how you would not like to be, is teaching you a lesson on what would make your own life better. Okay. And it goes so far. I've mentioned this in the past, I think, a lot of times because it was such an interesting conversation. Okay, it was with my cousin, and I told my cousin one day, if there is a serial killer on this planet, he or she must be the best serial killer that they can be. And she looked at me quite shocked. She was like, "Well, how the hell can I say that?" I'm like, because that serial killer will teach us what not to be in this life, what we would not like to do in this life. When you see something that doesn't resonate with you, something that's horrible, something that you think, yes, how can this person do it? There's a part of you that goes, okay, but I don't want to be like that. It's a feedback mechanism and it's a loop that says, okay, but I don't want to do those actions. I don't want to be that serial killer. I don't want to be that person's life. That doesn't resonate with me. If that wasn't there, you wouldn't grow as a person. Okay, you wouldn't be able to see, you wouldn't be able to feel what's happening with you, and you wouldn't be able to take the lessons from this story. Now, how bad does the story get? Is cheating on you a bad betrayal? Is hurting you, breaking you, abusing you, leaving scars on you physically, is that a betrayal? Okay. Is killing you a betrayal? It can go in different levels. But the ultimate level, if this is a stage and all of us climb off the stage, meaning all of us die, there are certain undisputed evidences that claim we do not end when we die. Life does not end. Okay, death is an illusion and we continue. And in the environment I'm in the subconscious realm, of all the people I've worked with and the books I've read and the things I've seen, that is, in my reality, it is a real thing. You do not end at death. Death does not end your process. Okay. When somebody wants to commit suicide, I always tell my clients this. They have every right to commit suicide. Nobody can stop you from committing suicide, but it is a temporary relief. It is a temporary solution. That sounds a bit funny. How can death be a temporary solution? But in my experience with my clients and with everything I've read and with everything I've done, it is a reality. It is a temporary relief. So if you want to escape from pain, escape from abuse, escape from betrayal, want to check out, sure, you're allowed to, but I don't think it's going to stop. Okay. It continues until you learn the lesson. Now that sucks in a way, but it's also a nice saving and coping mechanism that was built into this universal truth. No matter how much somebody betrays you, no matter how much somebody hurts you, no matter how much somebody stole your power, made you feel worthless, made you feel useless, whatever they did to you, that can be overcome if you take the lesson, incorporate it, and carry on with your life. Right. And that's quite a nice way of looking at things. That carrying on, that lesson that you've learned, that is the fragrance that the violet shades on the heel that has crushed it. It does not mean you have to have that person in your space. A lot of times, especially when it comes to sexual abuse and people being abused, that family member or that person that's abused the person is still in the circles. Okay. Does not mean that that person still has to be there. Does not mean that you have to allow that person in your space. That person you can create distance with. Okay. It doesn't mean that if you forgive somebody, they still have to be in your space. But what real forgiveness means, if that person gets into your space or you see that person again, that emotional, what can I say, that emotional disturbance, that feeling, that effect that they have had on you disappears. Then you know your forgiveness level is actually quite amazing. It has done something to you, and it's quite amazing that you can learn that lesson from that forgiveness and from that person's actions. Okay, just want to put this on silent. I forgot to put that on silent. Right. So when somebody betrays you, first of all, go see what was the betrayal. Did they steal money from you? Let's take that as an example. Somebody stole money from you. Okay. And then people will say, yes, but I've never stolen money in my life. Somewhere along the line, in some way or shape or form, you've made a financial decision that was bad for somebody else and not for yourself, and not good for them. I mean, okay. So it links. Doesn't have to mean you physically took money. What was the financial energy surrounding financial things that you did that was wrong or that wronged someone? And then how can you cast the first stone if you are guilty of that too? Right. So if you have somebody that you are thinking of wanting to let go, of thinking to forgive, what are the steps physically that you can take? Because subconsciously it's easy. If I work with people one-on-one, it's a nice process to do. But if you don't have somebody to work subconsciously with, and if you don't have somebody to take you through it, what is a nice step that you can do to actually release this energy towards the person that you would like to have you forgiven, okay? Or that you would like to forgive for hurting you. The first step is writing. I cannot emphasize the amazing thing that writing does. Writing is actually insane. If you write a letter to the person who betrayed you, who abused you, stole from you, who did whatever to you, and you write that first letter in the worst possible way, with all your hatred, with all the frustration, with all the bad words that you can muster up, and you write that letter raw, raw, raw. That's the first step to get it out. Nobody has to see this letter. It's purely for you. Okay. Then, after you wrote that letter, the first one, you're going to read that letter and then rewrite it in a softer tone. Almost like how would you explain all those things that happened to a child. Just in a softer tone. You write the letter the second time. Okay. And then the third one is going to be the most difficult part. You put yourselves in the betrayer's shoes and you write a defense betrayer. Why did they do what they did? Okay. It's a hectic mind game to play. But what this does is it gives the mind a complete picture of the whole process. Okay. The raw emotions and the things that you feel for the betrayer, softening it a bit so you can understand it a bit better, because nothing we do in anger and fear and all these negative emotions sets in or make itself clear. And then the third one, the defense of the betrayer. Why did they do what they did? Allows you to access another part of you that's bigger. Allows you to access the stage and not the actor. Okay, why did this story play out? And then something happens in the subconscious mind that is awesome. All right, the subconscious mind can actually let go of all these things. And it's funny how writing can affect your nervous system and your whole demeanor to actually just let go and forgive. Right. Hence, the word forgive is not really necessary. It's a process that you have to take to learn from, to grow from, to carry forwards those lessons that you've learned. And sometimes it doesn't even have to be a big, people think it has to be this big lesson that you learned. Okay. And it is amazing because it's not such a big lesson sometimes. It just must be the strangest thing. Like, lesson can be, I must learn to set better boundaries. Lesson can be, I must take care of my financial well-being myself. Lesson being, okay, I must not say yes to everybody and not myself. Small lessons like that. Okay. Question, kan jy ook doen as persoon ook oorlede is? Yes. Okay, so the loss of a loved one. This is where we're going to become even weirder. So, on a subconscious level, I can tell you now, 99% of the people I've worked with, I'll actually never forget well, he's not a boy, he was probably mid-20s, young man, came to see me. His mother brought him to me. He was very reluctant to come. He work with people who are reluctant to come, but she said there's no other choice. And I told her, just bring him, we'll have a chat. And I was speaking to him, and we were going through this process. And I showed him what trance work is, how it works. And he actually spoke to his dead father in that space. Now, whether that is imagined, whether that is real, whether that is fantasy, it has a physical effect on the people doing it. And I can tell you, most people have that ability. They speak to their loved ones in that state, in that trance state, in that peaceful state. And there they communicate with people who are dead. Okay. Now, I have no way of knowing, and nobody has any way of knowing or proving that this is fact or imagination. One of my clients asked me afterwards, he's like, yes, but is this real? And I'm like, but yeah, we can't say. But what's the feeling? And 100% of the time, the people say the feeling is very real. This was very real. The emotions come out, the forgiveness come out, the communication comes out, the messages come out. And that is quite an amazing thing to witness. So yes, it is possible to do it with a person that is deceased. Okay. And it is ironic because those people that are deceased, they are somewhere stuck in your mind and your subconscious mind, and you can actually access them and talk to them. All right. And like I said, whether it's real or not, who cares? It has an effect. Okay. It has a effect that is positive. All right. I hope that answers your question, Peter. So it is possible with people who passed away. Okay. So concerning this and people who are passing away and forgiveness and everything, when you take a step back, understand at this present moment in time how many people are playing out their stories on this stage we call life and this stage we call Earth, planet Earth. It is insane if you allow the mind just to go, okay, but there are people dying of drugs at this moment. There are people falling in love, falling out of love. There are people dying. There are people being born, people being born. No wonder I sat and I was witnessing, playing with my mind in a nice, relaxed, meditative state. It was like an airport, this planet, with people coming in, people going out. I had this whole visual thing of this whole planet, people coming in, coming out, playing. It is amazing. Right. Then we go, and the ego says, you've wronged me. I need to take revenge. I need to take action. Yeah, sure. Why? What's the purpose? It's going to make you feel better, probably for a little while. What would make you feel better is equilibrating that emotion and anchoring it in your whole being so that you can go on this planet without having to forgive and with understanding the universal principles that guide this realm. That is a nice space to walk in, and not a lot of people want to take the time to do that. So what do? You write. Write, write, write. Write 3 letters. Doesn't matter who the person is, doesn't matter what the event was mixing to Afrikaans. So it is important to understand that you are not helpless. You are not a victim. Okay? In your mind, there's always going to be a victim, a rescuer, and an accuser. There'll be the accuser, the little voice that accuses you. There'll be the victim that cowers and says, I can't do this. There'll be the rescuer that says, oh, you can do this. And those three are always playing in the back of your head. Okay. It is the rescuer that you want to empower. You don't want to punish the victim and you don't want to vilify the accuser. Those three things must work together. And if you can get them to work together, it becomes quite amazing. All right. People find amazing peace. And who cares if it's real or fantasy? If the effect on your body is real and the feeling shifts and there's a state shift, we call it, then by all means, we can play with that. And that's just the power of your mind and your inner world. And I think your God-given talent to play with on this planet. So that's what's quite amazing about this forgiveness thing. All right. Sure, 20 minutes already, 21 minutes. Okay, I would like to open up to questions and answers so we can have a discussion. So Peter asked about the person wat oorlede is. So Peter, ek hoop het antwoord jou vraag. Min of meer op 'n beter vlak. As daar nog vrae is, tik. If you have any other questions, please type there. Surrounding forgiveness or surrounding anything. Okay. But I tell you, if you go play with the stage thing, and go observe this whole earth like a movie. And I think today with AI, we must observe everything like a movie because the quality of stuff that's out there and the insane things that are happening, it is crazy. Ah, vergewe yourself. Yes. Okay. Forgive yourself. The hardest thing you'll ever do. Ironically, it's easier to forgive other people than to forgive yourself. Why? Because if you turn on yourself, right? Do you have any defenses? If you sit alone at night in your bed and you're trying to, and the accuser comes in and that accuser accuses you, there's no defense. Okay, but remember, you've got a rescuer and a victim in your whole psyche as well. So, what would if you want to forgive yourself for something, right, you need to find out again, what did you learn from those actions? Say you cheated on someone, say you stole somebody's money, say you, whatever you did, right? If you go back and you go, okay, but why did I do this? No, I don't know. It's mostly the answer. I'm like, no, you do know. There must be a reason. What did you get in that action? Was it anger that drove you? Was it revenge that drove you? What did you do to hurt that person? What was the emotion behind it? And what did you get out of that emotion? Okay. Subconsciously, maybe if you want to punish someone, okay, if somebody doesn't treat you right, you're not happy in a relationship, you'll cheat. If you feel that somebody's got way more money than you and they're living a better life, stealing from them won't be a sin. Why? Because they've got enough. But what do you get out of yourself? So to forgive yourself is actually a tough thing to do because we take on responsibility for the whole world and we think we can fix everything, but that's not how it happens. Okay. So it's important when you want to forgive yourself, find out why you did what you did. If you can make amends, make amends. In other words, with people you've hurt. If you can't make amends with them and you know you can't, again, that writing is an amazing exercise. Do the same thing. Be the accuser to yourself. Write what you did in the most rawest, meanest, descriptive way possible. Then make it softer and then defend yourself. Why did you do what you do or what you did? Okay, I hope that answers your question, Almarie, in a short and quick way. I see some things coming in here. In my opinion, forgiveness is a choice. Once you are ready, as a stage player to an intricate life, I forgave my father on his deathbed. Okay, I thought I would scream at him being unconscious, but the little girl in me that loved her father could only feel love and more once he was on deathbed. Forgiveness is also about the right time. Yes. Okay. That timing thing is interesting, Anne-Marie, because if you forgive your father, you had the chance to stand by his deathbed. Most people do not. Okay, but still, in the subconscious realm, they can go replay those things over. So the timing thing is also true, but the timeline is not also always right. That's why you can't compare timelines. That's why you can't compare what you do in this life to a timeline, because people have different timeline. But it's amazing that you had the realization that that little girl could forgive her dad. That's actually quite a nice story. Okay, Pieter, ek verstaan nou baie beter, dankie, maar sukkel nog, sal die oorlede weet dat ek haar vergewe het? Oh, yeah, that's an interesting question. Okay. Somebody's dead without you saying goodbye, without you saying what you wanted to say. Always. And through the board, always. In my sessions, there is a reciprocal communication. That means yes, they know. Yes, they feel it. And think about it. Okay. On a microscopic level, energetic quantum level, we are not separate. None of us are separate. It's weird. We are all connected some other way. So in this whole vast universe, in the spirit realm and all these realms, we are still connected. That's why you get people that can speak to ghosts, spirits, see them. Okay. There are some charlatans out there, but there are some people who have real experiences. So those real experiences, people get the communication. And sure, absolutely. It is my experience that the people who are dead will still feel that energy and they can rest. Okay. It's funny that this comes up because there's a book called The Unquiet Dead, which I'm revisiting. I read it years ago. And it's about this woman that treats spirit possession as a psychologist with hypnosis. And she goes through all these attachments and all these entities that got stuck on planet Earth. It is a fascinating read. Okay, but there is definitely communication. Right, Peter. So absolutely. If you can manage that energy and forgive that person, I'm absolutely sure if you have that person's image net, they also can hear it. Okay, Linda, I had a conversation with my deceased mother during a session with you. And she forgave me, and today I can think and talk about it without crying and becoming very emotional. I have so much peace. Oh, Linda, awesome. Thank you for sharing. Yes. Okay. So that's what I meant by the session. Actually, somebody that did it. Thanks, Linda. So it's amazing how that communication happens. When something happens, but that other person does definitely feel it. Okay. Tinka, why is people stop? Wait. Let me go. Why is people stop talking if two people not talk? Yeah, people can cut you off. All right. If people just stop talking and they don't want to talk to you, I hope that's what you mean, Tinka, and not in the current situation. But if somebody just cuts you off, it is important to listen to the actions. Okay. And if you want to try and save the relationship, what's the first step? Is compassion, then love, then distance. If compassion and love doesn't work and that person still ignores you, still doesn't want to talk to you, then distance. It's not meant to be. And I think we need to have that as well as a boundary set in. Okay, Almari, thanks. Sandra, forgiveness means to forget or to reassure that person over and over, did they forgive you? Or do you have to explain all over again when they are triggered? How to handle if you need forgiveness? Okay, first of all, you cannot be responsible for people's triggers, especially in this situation. If somebody, like in your situation, you have to remind this person, eventually they'll have to do the work as well. And I always go to this quote as well. In a relationship that Ram does, I don't know if you guys remember Ram does, but I mentioned him a lot on these sessions. He said, my relationship with you has got nothing to do with you. Okay. The best I can do is work on myself, and the best you can do for me is work on you. So people in a relationship, if one person wants to work on themselves, grow, can learn from their mistakes, work and learn on forgiveness. If this person has to be reminded the whole time, there's going to come a time when you must tell this person, but that's not your responsibility anymore. Okay. Because you cannot go on and on and on and on and on. If you need forgiveness and you don't feel that they've really forgiven you, that's not their problem, it's your problem. And you must look at the actions. Okay, if somebody's really forgiven you, they won't mention the past, they won't have that emotional setup anymore. So just see how they handle you and how they talk. It's not necessary to be reminded all the time. Okay, and that's another ego thing is I forgive you. That sounds so amazing, but I forgive you. Oh yes, I forgive you. Who the hell are you to forgive somebody else? Okay, we're all humans on this planet. We're all humans living very, very hectic lives and playing out stories and yeah, doing things that we shouldn't. But it's a stage and it's a game that we are playing. We want to learn from this game. So this it's amazing how I've seen some people go, "Oh, I forgive you, holier than thou," and I'm sorry, but that just doesn't fly with me. You don't have the authority to do that. You have the authority to grow, learn as a human being. By all means, do what you need to do. But that thing of being higher than you because I now forgive you, or being holier than you because I forgive you, is not something I agree with. Hoe vergewe mens as die persoon jou lewe bly moeilik maak en steeds jou lewe probeer beheer? Koba, dis nie vergifnis nie. So if somebody still makes life difficult for you and still tries and controls your life, that's not a forgiveness problem. That's a boundary and a self-respect problem. Okay. How can you adjust the situation to protect you better? And it's so amazing because we don't even realize that we have the capacity and choice to say now is enough. It's enough. I don't want to do this anymore. So it's not a forgiveness person. If you forgive somebody, like I said, they can't do the same thing over and over to you again. All right. If somebody, let's take a physical example. I leave money on the table, 100 Rand, 200 Rand, whatever. Somebody walks past, takes it. You forgive them. They walk past, they take it, you forgive them again. They walk past, they take it, you forgive them again. Are you going to keep on forgiving them for stealing your money? No. You're going to take the money away, or you're going to hide it, or you're not going to have them give them access to that money. The same with your space, your boundaries, your emotions. If somebody is trampling that whole time without respect, why are you allowing it still? Okay, so I think that's a boundary issue, not a forgiveness issue, Koba. I hope that answers your question. Sandra makes sense. Thanks. Okay. Sure. I'm just going quickly through all these because there's a lot of things. This is an interesting subject, especially with the questions. Okay. Let me see what's next. George, ek verstaan die vorige stelling van constant reassurance, maar wat as die persoon dit konstant weer doen? Is normaal, moet mens dan net stil bly of is dit normaal dat mens daai persoon weer 'n persoon doen jou seer maak? So dis nie dat mense in die verlede leef nie aangesien dit bly gebeur. Yes. It's the same thing I just said. If someone hurts you over, and you need to remind people, if love and compassion does not work, put a timeline on how much you're willing to handle. Tell that person, this can go on for me. I can maybe last 3 or 4 months still trying to remind you, still trying to forgive you. But if this continues, this is going to be the repercussion of your actions. Just the facts. If you continue to abuse me, if you continue to steal, if you continue to betray me like this after we forgive and after we've communicated, I cannot reassure you. I don't have the energy. We've got 3 months, 6 months. That's all I can handle. What you do up to then is up to you, but then I'm done. Okay. So you need to put in those boundaries. You're allowed to say no. It hurts sometimes, and we think we don't deserve better, but absolutely. Okay. So George, I hope that answers your question. If things continue, it's time to cut, and it's time to say, okay, enough. I've played my part to the best of my ability. I was the victim. I was the rescuer. I was the accuser. Now I'm enough. I don't want to do this anymore. So you don't have to. Okay. I hope that answers, George. Right. Shoo. It's amazing what the mind does with forgiveness and people. But again, what role are these people playing? Are they the villain in your life? Are they the accuser in your life? Are they the rescuer in your life? What are they doing? Right? And what role do you allow them to play the whole time? Okay. That takes a bit of questioning. That takes a bit of in-depth research into yourself, who you are, what you're about, what you're willing to accept, what you're willing to not accept. But eventually, it is a natural thing that you can apply. And once you apply that natural process and once you get used to it, then forgiveness will never be necessary. It becomes quite an illusion because then you don't have to forgive, right? And some people say, yeah, I just cut people out. I'm like, yeah, sure. But have you learned from the experience? Because cutting people out is fine. But if you've not learned from the experience, the universe is going to interject with a person that does the same thing to you, and you're going to have the same pattern repeated. Okay. What's the saying? We repeat what we don't repair. Right? So it's good to cut people out, and by all means go do it. But if you don't have some introspection, don't learn and grow, the feedback mechanism that this universe wants to give you, that this earth wants to give you in the story that you're playing out, is going to be missed, and you don't want to miss the feedback. Okay. Always, always, always focus on the message, not the messenger. Horrible things happen when people focus on the messenger. Whether they make the messenger a savior, a guru, or something, or the villain, they miss the message. If you see religions today, they made the messenger the focal point. The message is gone. Okay, it's all about the messenger, and then people do most amazing things in the name of religion, but it's because they focused on the messenger, not the message. All right. Koba, hoe sny jy die persoon uit as daar kinders by betrokke is en jy wil hulle beskerm? Oh, wow, that's a rough one. Okay, how do you cut off a person where there are children involved, but you want to save them as well? Okay, concerning children, the example that you set, if you sacrifice to save your children, if you sacrifice to save children and you keep on sacrificing yourself in a way, they're going to pick up that process, they're going to pick up those patterns. And it sounds harsh, but sometimes you have to let go, because if you want to save children by destroying yourself, you're setting an example to those children. It's okay to destroy yourself in future. Okay, so there are certain nuances, certain things that's important to understand surrounding the kids and the family dynamics. But again, if there are children involved, it's going to be a rough, rough scenario, but you can work through it. Okay, and if you work through it, then you'll see that the example that you set for the children is going to be important in that situation. Okay, are you going to give up, and are you going to allow this person to trample all over you because you want to protect the children? Or are you going to show the children that it's good to stand up and there's other decisions and. Okay. And some of the situations in families are rough and it's dire. But even in those situations, there's little things that you can do. Okay, little steps, little actions that you can do to set an example for those kids. And just make sure, Kuba, that in that scenario, it's not your inner child that's trying to protect the other children. Okay. Sometimes if you see children hurt and you're a grown-up and you hurt as that child, you are now reacting. And in that reaction lies a lot of negative things. If you can respond as the grown-up and understand this is not good for the children and do that, then it's better. But don't try and protect the children because your own inner child was hurt. It's going to be still that same pattern that follows through. I hope that makes sense, Kuba, because I don't know the whole situation, but that's more or less what I can pick up from what will play out. Right. Sure, half an hour gone already. So quick. Okay, guys. So the art of forgiveness lies in creating that fragrance for the heel that has crushed you. Okay. Who crushed you? What can you learn from that? How can you move beyond that? How can that affect your life in a positive way? It's a weird way to think about it. Okay. Because the ego likes to go into self-pity mode. Are we allowed to feel sorry for ourselves? Absolutely. Are you allowed to go through all the negative emotions, through the hate, through the trauma, through the fears? Absolutely. It's just not right for you to get stuck in there because your mind can do so many amazing things to get you out of it. And I think it's that part that you get it out of that is truly amazing and that truly brings peace. And once you get that part and those physical actions right, then forgiveness will always be unnecessary because it's just a word. Okay. I hope this helped. Thank you for your engagement and your questions. These sessions are quite interesting, especially if people ask surrounding certain things. I hope the answers made sense. And if you have any other questions, always you can direct message me if you're on the group. Just direct message me because you won't be able to message on the group. There's just too many members on there. It's not a chat group. It will be a nightmare. But yes, you're welcome to contact me with any other questions. And I hope you have a peaceful evening.